Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you to you and the ranking member for convening this hearing. Let me ask kind of a specific question and then a broader one. I'll start with Mr. Spear. Good morning. You indicate in your testimony some doubts about the infra program and its impact on or the consequences in rural aspects. That program has a 25% set aside, and I wondered if you'd expand on what we might be concerned or should be concerned about when it comes to rural projects.
Well, I think prioritization is really pivotal, and the last two authorizations reflect that. I think making certain that we preserve the 1956 federal aid highway program that is largely centered on distributing funds down to state and localities, that those states and localities are, an integral partnership with the freight program priorities, but they're also receiving their funding as well. I think what we're seeing, because funding is so strained, that everybody's competing for the same type of funds. The prioritization of the last two authorizations is helpful, but increasing the funding on top of what's already been done is really where we need to see more results, I think, will occur on the local level. I think it's a funding issue. You've got the framework in place, but putting more money to, into the programs is what's really going to see a lot of results at that level.
I appreciate you highlighting that. I mean, what we've discovered and time again is that off-system roads and bridges, which are so important, particularly in a state like Kansas or Oklahoma, and getting grain to market, there just is no source of any revenue to rebuild, restructure infrastructure that lends itself then to trucking across the country. Getting it from farm to market has to begin someplace that's a pretty rural place in the case of our state. So thank you for that reminder. My broader question is, I use this as an opportunity to tout something that I think is important to the economic well-being of our country and would have an impact upon all transportation modes, and that's NAFTA. The value of our ability to export commodities and manufactured goods across borders, particularly those to the north and the south of us, in my view, is a significant component, certainly, of how we earn a living in Kansas. I would highlight that I believe there's a sense out there that agriculture in particular will always be just fine because Mexico, Canada, and others will always want our agricultural commodities. I wish that was true. I hope that's true. I think when it comes to quality, no one can compete with us. But it's interesting to me to see the cost of freight and the differential between our ability to get grain to Mexico as compared to Argentina or even Russia when we use when we use waterways and the Gulf to get grain to Mexico. We have a competitive, I don't know that I'd say disadvantage, but the competition is great for us to be able to compete economically with grain coming from someplace else being shipped even as close to us as our neighbor to the south. And so I wanted to give you first the opportunity to tell me how, if NAFTA went away, what it might mean to the consequences to freight and the use of trucks or the use of our waterways. And secondly, the opportunity to highlight what you've been telling us in this hearing, the importance of investment in infrastructure so that we can compete in a global economy. And that could be you, Mr. Parker, you, Mr. Spear, or anyone. But if you can highlight for me the value of trade with Mexico, and then secondly, how important it is to be able to be competitive globally as a result of being able to compete with efficient infrastructure.
Well, I'll quickly answer it. From our perspective in trucking, it's absolutely essential. I mean, to tweak or even walk away from our obligations under NAFTA since 1994, it's not a perfect agreement. Perfect agreements, I don't believe in that. I think there's always imperfections. It's trying to improve it in a manner that's reflective of the economy that we're finding ourselves in. But since '94, trucks now move 76% of the NAFTA surface freight. 81% of the border crossings with Mexico are moved by truck. 71% with Canada. To tweak or walk away from it, we talk about the recession in 2008. It's not like a recession we'd be looking at. It would be catastrophic to our economy. And I also think our partnerships to the north and south, Canada being our largest trade partner in the world, would really jeopardize national security. Our ability to work with other countries on different levels Trade is an integral part of that, beyond the economic benefits, national security benefits. Trucks are very much a part of that. We connect all the modes. We really make a lot of the freight move through connected means. And, you know, to walk away from those obligations or to really tweak them would have a dramatic effect on every state, including Kansas.
Thank you. Parker?
Senator, with or without NAFTA, American agriculture is in intense competition around the world. We know what the Brazilians are doing and everything else. And of course, as you so correctly stated, our key is our interior infrastructure, our rivers, our rails, our highways, and our ports. I think the two things that we could do to make sure that we keep American agriculture competitive as it relates to the rivers is the policy change I suggested relative to the Inland Waterway Trust Fund, general fund obligations, and the user fund fee. That would be a huge step towards modernizing these aging locks and dams and making sure that we can keep American agriculture competitive in these world markets. And the other thing is the Navigation Ecosystem Sustainability Program, NESP, it is frequently referred to, which is on the upper Mississippi River, Illinois River. That is a key component going forward, and we would hope that the Congress will direct some steps to start that funding and look at those, changing those locks to 1,200-foot locks to help agriculture in that area moving forward. So,
Mr. Parker, thank you very much. We don't have navigable waters in Kansas, at least that I can find, and we certainly didn't find them under WOTUS. But I would say that as a Kansan, we care greatly about those waterways, those locks and dams. They are our, among several other methods, they are our connection to the rest of the world. Thank you.
thank you.